All right, everyone, we have a new trailer to react to, and it's for something that I'm very curious about. Terminator Zero, this new animated Netflix series, set in the world of Terminator. And I have to admit, I really like the still images that they've released over the last, I guess, like couple of weeks or maybe the last, 2 or so months. I am a Terminator fan. I love the original movie, and of course I really love the second one as well. Outside of that, I think the rest of the franchise is mediocre to very, very disappointing, especially the last couple of entries. The Terminator Genesis, or Genesis as I like to call it, and Dark Fate was awful. And yeah, what I've always said about the Terminator franchise is that every sequel after the second one, Judgment Day, they just have always seemed to be trying to do Judgment Day again, that type of film. But like the original Terminator, I think people often forget this. It's very much a horror film. It's like, yeah, it's an action movie, sci-fi film, but it's also a horror movie. Schwarzenegger's, Terminator, he's very much a slasher in that film. He just happens to use guns. And I've always kind of just wanted a filmmaker to come in and to make that type of film again. I'm not saying just remake Terminator 1, but indulge in the horror genre with Terminator, because they just have never done that since 2, really. I mean, they haven't really done that since the first one, I should say. Even though I as much as I like to, it's more of an action sci-fi film with maybe occasionally some horror moments. But I actually don't know, like, the studios behind this outside of, obviously this being distributed, this being featured on Netflix. I'm actually curious about that. It is an anime, which I think is really exciting. So to see Terminator with that style, with that aesthetic, I think is pretty exciting. So in any case, I'm looking forward to this. So let's go ahead and take a look at the trailer, come back with my thoughts. Very curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below, but let's go ahead and take a look. Oh, jeez. Loud.
This isn't what you think it is.
Skydance. Oh, Production IG did this? Oh, I had no idea. Oh, that's good.
You've been on a collision course your entire life.
That's good. It's a good sign. Visually,
there's no
very
going
nice.
back. Not really. It will never, ever
like that.
Stop.
Soon.
There's only one thing standing in between you and him. Me.
Again, visually, I'm really liking what I'm seeing. Just like in those production stills, it's great to see a lot of this in motion right now. I did not know. Of course, I knew that obviously Netflix was distributing it, and that we'd be able to watch it through that streaming service. But it's being made by Production IG, who I do have some familiarity with. They've been around, God, I want to say since the late 80s, working on a ton of different anime, both film and various shows. They made Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, I want to say back in 2002, 2005, like around that time period. And I really I actually like that series more than the actual film. And you can already kind of tell just by the aesthetic. It just looks so much like that show. And so that's pretty exciting to me. That's fantastic. But again, what I'm seeing right now, they seem to be trying to capture the kind of the aesthetic and the look of the original film. It's you have the reference to Judgment Day, of course, and you're gonna have these action moments, but just the imagery that they're using, it looks like something out of a horror anime, and that really excites me. I think that's awesome. That's what, because of the fact that Terminator's just been trying to make the original sequel, Terminator 2, so many times over and over again. I think that's just diminished the franchise. But if you wanted to reignite some excitement and interest in it, then yeah, go back to the horror genre. I mean, yes, the horror genre, it ebbs and flows as it peaks and valleys, of course, but a lot of these things, a lot of these types of projects, they always seem to make money. They always seem to garner interest, and I think to approach this series in that way again, after God, they haven't done that since the early 1980s, 1984. I think it's very smart. And in terms of the cast, at least for the dubs, obviously, they have Timothy Olyphant, who is going to play the Terminator, or a Terminator, which I think is great casting. Of course, he's famous for playing all sorts of gunslingers and cowboys and outlaws and a lot of westerns, but having him play like a Terminator, I think that's great. And then I think you have like a couple other people. Rosario Dawson, I know, is in it, and the rest of the cast I'm a little unfamiliar with. But that's okay. That's okay, because everything I'm seeing so far looks great. Aesthetically, I'm loving the tone, and it's doing something new, or at least it hasn't done something in close to 40 years. 40 years now. I mean, technically, yeah, 40 years at this point. So that's exciting. I'm really like what I'm seeing. But I'm very curious to hear from you guys. Are you fans of the Terminator franchise? Have you been a little disappointed by it over the last, 20 or so years? What's your favorite Terminator movie? To me, I'm always go back and forth. Like, I really love Terminator 2. It's great, but there's something about Terminator 1 because it's just so different from all the other, sequels that came afterwards. But yeah, really like what I'm seeing. They seem to have a lot of talented people involved in this, which I think is great. Production IG, I think that's great. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.